Chapter 4 Guide me, leave me. Barely registered Ratchet's voice as he called out, a tad startled at my actions. I suppose Tracy. What? But Optimus's reaction time was superb. He extended his hand to catch me in the palm with ease. I landed on my feet, but fell quickly to my knees from the impact. I'd only fallen 7 feet before his hand was waiting. No serious damage had been done, thankfully. I guess I'm a bit of a nut. Tracy. Optimus's voice was gentle, though cautious, as he spoke my name. Yeah? I asked, my head tilting slightly as I looked up at him, a slight smile on my face. I knew he wouldn't let me down. However, he seemed a bit disappointed, in his own right. Maybe I hadn't thought this through very well. He paused a moment before speaking again. Why did you jump from the railing? You may soon be undergoing the transformation of human to Autobo, but you are not invincible. Well, duh. I knew that. I guess he just didn't get it. To be honest, I hadn't gotten it until I was in midair. I just wanted to prove something. And what would jumping over the railing prove? His voice was as level as always, but it just felt different, the way he said it. That I trust you with my life and that you should know I'm willing to risk everything for you and the Autobots. And what if I had not reacted in time? He challenged my thought process, and I definitely wasn't a fan of that. I quickly shook my head. That's a non-existent matter. You promised to protect me. Technically, I did not promise anything, Optimus explained. I stood up in his hand, still confident in his protection over me. Then I'll ask you again. Optimus, do you promise to protect me? I was about to learn that my confidence was misplaced. Optimus said nothing, his optics shifting away from me, and set me back down on the second floor landing by Miko. My heart dropped a few inches in my chest at the absence of an answer. Optimus. He ignored me, and instead spoke to the medic. Ratchet, I'm going to scout the town. Optimus Prime walked away from me, towards the exit, transformed to his vehicle mode, and drove out. I was alone. But, Optimus. I thought he cared. I thought he would protect me. I was trying my best not to cry right now. I was broken. And obviously Miko could sense. Tracy. Are you okay? I shook my head, trying to get rid of the sensations washing over me. I didn't want Miko to worry over this. Not when it was obviously just so stupid. Yeah, I'm fine. Obviously, right? Hey Ratchet, how much longer until the process can begin? I desperately wanted to change the subject. My personal pain wasn't something I wanted to dwell on. The medic responded with ease. I can begin soon, it's only a matter of hours now. Really? I was in a bit of disbelief. That was wonderful news. And a wonderful distraction. Deep breaths. We'd get there soon. Yes, I was able to substitute the original surge from the Allspark for Energon. That is to say, you will essentially have a partially empty cavity where your spark chamber would be for the time being. We would have to find a shard to finish it. It felt like he might have been holding something back, but I decided to ignore it. I just wanted to think of something not depressing. How do we find a shard? I asked, honestly a bit bewildered at how quiet Miko was being. Most likely, steal one from the Decepticon airship, Ratchet said simply, though his tone implied there was nothing simple about that. Well, where is it? I asked. One step at a time, right? We have no idea, Ratchet told us, then shrugged. Well, I can't live without a heart. Or spark chamber, or whatever. Could I? Which is why I will make one from scratch, the medic explained. How on earth do you make one? I asked, startled a bit at the concept. Of course, they made artificial hearts, right? We already know plenty of our own anatomy, so I can make one. It's been the primary project for the last few days. RC's been doing more than just being a research subject. I sighed, part from frustration, part from exhaustion, part from being overwhelmed and part from being an emotional mess. I can't believe it. I thought this was going to take forever, but instead it's going by faster than I ever imagined. I was kind of lost in all the miraculous detail of it. You're not the only one. This is all turning out to simply be a matter of anatomy. At least, to start with. The hard part of this going to be transferring your mental and emotional components to your new body. The orange and white Mac stated. I supposed that made enough sense. Just one thing. I thought you said there would be a way to use my body as the basic template and have me control the body. He did say that, right? Or was I imagining things? He gave a small sigh, vent, maybe. In theory, yes, but if something should ever happen, and the metal were penetrated, with your flesh body inside, there would be no way to repair you. Autobots are much more versatile. Okay, point medic. Great. Well, Miko, looks like you're gonna have a funeral to go to. Faking my own funeral. Delightful. Oh, man. I hate funerals, they're always so depressing. Miko gave a pout, crossing her arms. Bumblebee drove in with Jack and IF, but we didn't pay them much heed. We were kind of caught up in this mess. That's kinda because they're held for people who have died, I countered. Yeah, but you won't be dead. You'll be alive, just in a giant hunk of metal, Miko argued. I raised an eyebrow. She had a point, but her view would be different than the public view on this. But as far as everyone else will be concerned, I'm dead. Pff, talk about crazy plots. You're gonna be dead and alive at the same time, sweet. Now I really wanna be an Autobo. She grinned, and I shook my head at her. Miko, you still have people to live for. Ah, yeah, you and Bulkhead. What about your parents? I watched her expectantly, and she conceded a small amount. Oh yeah, them too, I guess. She shrugged. Miko. I warned. She was so frustrating sometimes, but I loved her like a sister. Miko groaned. Fine. I won't try to become an Autobo, for now at least. I smiled broadly, patting her shoulder. That's a good girl. I patted her head like a dog, knowing that she hated it. Kind of. It was our way of being weird. One of them, at least. Hey. Just 'cause you're a year older doesn't mean you can treat me like I'm a kid. I smiled even more, then started walking away from her, wanting to explore the base. At least, that's what I wanted her to think I was doing. Think about it, Miko. We're both kids, by far. Compared to the Autobots and the Decepticons and Cybertron, we're all kids. Even our planet is a little kid compared to all that. I was rambling again. I knew that much. But I couldn't help it. Sometimes weird thoughts just sprung into my head. Miko groaned, rolling her eyes. Oh, she's going philosophical. Hey. I used a smart word. Whatcha think, bulkhead, new word of the day. Bulkhead, I don't know. I've never used it before. She sighed at him, a smile on her face. It figures. Their voices were fading, and RC had just made it back inside the base. I knew it was my chance to make a break for it, and I did. General narration. Optimus is such a jerk, Miko muttered, rolling her eyes. Tracy had been gone for a while, and Miko was now in a decidedly foul mood. She was trying not to invade Tracy's personal space, and yet she couldn't help herself from thinking aloud. Excuse me? RC asked, looking over at the small human girl. Miko huffed. Sorry, she mumbled. But I just... Okay, so here's what happened, she began, unable to keep this sort of thing bottled up. She wasn't a gossip, she was just exceptionally extroverted, rather than introverted. Tracy was doing tons better, but then she jumped off the landing and Optimus caught her and she said it was to prove that she trusted him with her life and whatever, because he promised to protect her, but he didn't actually, really, promise to protect her, and he avoided the question when she re-asked him if he would protect her, and he left, and then Tracy went super scary philosophical like, and now she's off somewhere. Shouldn't she have come back by now? The last sentence was more to herself than anyone else. RC frowned lightly. That's quite a story, Miko. Does anyone know where Optimus went? She glanced at Ratchet expectantly, but he simply waved his hand dismissively and went back to his work. Wonderful, she thought to herself, shaking her helm. Apparently the medic wasn't going to be much help. I have a feeling Optimus isn't doing much scouting, but everything should be okay. I'm sure Tracy's fine, Miko. She's a brave girl. Ratchet let out a small vent. I couldn't agree more. The process is going to be painful. The very nature of the procedure is going to induce quite a bit of pain. It's unavoidable. I considered telling her immediately, but feared it would cause her to back out, and this is something we haven't done before. Miko stood with her mouth agape. Dude. She has a right to know it's going to hurt. I will warn her, just not right now. I have a feeling if she did back out she would regret it later, Ratchet explained calmly. That's true. Miko conceded. But she has to know. She knew her friend had a very tunnel-like directive when she wanted or needed to. And she'd locked onto this like a pit bull. But Miko was still concerned about her well-being. I will give her fair warning before the procedure, Ratchet told her. You better. Miko warned. She knew she shouldn't be threatening someone about 50 times her size, but that didn't seem to register with her at this exact moment. This was her best friend. Her best friend. Don't worry, Miko. I'll hold him to it, RC promised. Well, that's great and fine, but she's kind of not here. She hasn't come back. Miko frowned, a bit of concern etching onto her face. The base lacked any sign of the brunette human girl. After a quick surveillance of what cameras they had in the base, they concluded that Tracy wasn't inside. Which raised a new issue. Where was she if she wasn't in the building? Miko immediately blamed Optimus. What the heck is wrong with that guy? She asked, frustrated. What the heck is so hard about making some stupid, simple promise? Really, dude? What the scrap? You can't do something that fragging simple. Hey, Tracy. I promise. Case closed, no problems. Come on. She huffed, crossing her arms. She wasn't fond of the Prime at the moment. Maybe they got along on most occasions, and she thought he was awesome, but he'd caused problems with her friend, who was now MIA. The Autobo medic shook his helm. The problem is that Optimus doesn't trust himself to make that promise. He believes that he'll fail if he makes a promise like that. Ratchet's explanation was very confident. Miko believed he might be right about that. RC sighed, not knowing how to fix what was unraveling before them. Come on, Bulkhead RC instructed. Let's go start a scout to see if we can see anything. She took off with the wrecker, and Ratchet contacted the Prime, informing him of the situation, Miko biting down her snide remarks while they were on the comm link. First person narration. I was walking back towards town, my arms crossed as I tried to keep away the shivers the night desert air brought me. Maybe the air wasn't the only reason I was shivering, but I refused to admit that the emotional wreckage I felt was real. I just wanted to hide, and never see the Autobots again. I guess the Autobo emblem I'd penned onto my hand was a bit of a magnet for trouble. I heard honking behind me and turned to see who it was. What I saw was a very nice, very sporty-looking car coming up behind me, slowing down and pulling over. I was hoping it was some nice boy wanting to give me a ride. That'd be a first. Well, maybe not if you counted Optimus off for the night we met. If you could call him a boy, anyway. Boy didn't seem quite right, though. Nice car, never seen it before, though. Red custom paint job, no driver. Wait, no driver. Well, I guess this should seem familiar, right? I had spent the last month with Transformers. And of course this thing transformed into a giant red robot that didn't look very friendly, though very similar, structurally, to the Autobots. But I didn't know him. Well, hello there, little girl. A little far from the Autobots, aren't you? Would it be weird if I said his voice sounded sort of pornographic? I mean, he certainly didn't sound like he was friendly, but there was also something deeply sensual about his voice. It was creepy. Scrap. I started to run. I don't know why. Maybe it was instinct from doing track and cross country. Either way, I knew I didn't have a real chance against this thing. I mean, really. Giant, metal, whatchamacallit, versus tiny, fleshy human. No. Ooh, a runner. The chase is always more fun. He ran after me, caught up to me in 2 strides. The same distance took me 20 sprinting strides, and picked me up in the palm of my hand. This was absolutely ridiculous. I was being manhandled, girl-handled. Well, now. How about you tell me where the Autobo base is and we'll get along just fine. I don't think so, you pile of junk. I guess hanging out with Miko had its benefits. Automatic reaction. I was trying to sound confident and defiant. I wasn't sure how well it would work for me though. A fighter. This'll be fun. He pressed the comm link on his ear. I think Ratchet had said it was an audio receptor. I had at least learned that much from my time with the Autobots, and began talking to someone I was fairly sure I wouldn't want to meet. Oh Lord Megatron, I believe we have a hostage. A human hostage. I think she might even be the one you threatened to go after during your little spat with Optimus. What was her name? Tracy, yes, that sounds right. Send the ground bridge and I'll bring her to you immediately. I was having a heart attack on the inside but bit my lip, trying to minimize my reaction on the outside. They knew who I was. This had to be a Decepticon. A real, crazy, Decepticon. The ground bridge portal opened just a couple seconds later and I tensed at the sight of it. I knew we could wind up anywhere if we went through that thing, anywhere on Earth, anyway, and a certain distance within its atmosphere, and if there was anywhere I didn't want to be, it was anywhere with the Decepticons. Well, Tracy, it looks like you'll get to meet Lord Megatron himself. Aren't you lucky? Lucky. He had an odd definition of the word, now didn't he? About as lucky as a fat turkey on Thanksgiving. His helm tilted slightly, raising an eyebrow. Optic ridge, I think Ratchet had said. My anatomy lessons were kicking in. I never will understand your Earth humor. He walked through the portal, with me still in his hand. You know how people say they can hold others in the palm of their hand? Well, I was really not appreciating that metaphor right now. In no time at all, we were on board the ship. And I had no problem voicing my dissatisfied state. I hate this so much. The Decepticons were too busy studying me to really pay attention to what I said. Talk about lab rat. Creeps. So this is Optimus's new human pet? A large, Silver Mac questioned, looking quite unhappy with my arrival, even though I was his hostage and probably served some use in his mind. Processor. The Red Mac who'd nabbed me, who I now knew to be Knockout, thanks to some creepy drone, had escorted me through a pair of automatic doors, only to reveal, well, him. The one I assumed was Megatron. It certainly looks like it, Lord Megatron Knockout told him with a slight shrug. I tensed in the Knockout's hand. I bit down any snide remarks and kept my thoughts to myself. I really didn't need to start a fight with any of them, much less their psychotic leader. Excellent. Now, little girl, he paused, and leaned closer to me, bringing his face inches from mine for effect. And it definitely worked. Tell me where the Autobo base is. I swallowed, hard, heart pounding in my chest. Well, not here, obviously. Can I tell you where it isn't first? Okay, being a smart aleck might not help me right now, but it would help the Autobos, and I might not be one of them yet, but I'd sworn my allegiance to them already. At least, I had to myself. I do not have time for games, Megatron warned ominously. Tell me the location of the Autobo base. I don't know. They won't let me in because they said I'm not trustworthy enough yet. Believable enough argument, right? I was hoping. I don't believe you, Lord Megatron told me. Guess it wasn't very believable after all. I've seen Optimus shadow you at school. Well, that was news to me. I'd never seen him at school or anywhere outside the base unless they left through the ground bridge for a mission. I was surprised, but didn't let it show. I couldn't. So? I asked defiantly. So he protects you. Now tell me the location of the base before I lose my temper. And I kind of believed him. He was not a happy camper. But something told me he never really was a happy camper. No. Whoops. I may have blurted a bit too soon. But maybe I hadn't. I wasn't going to give them anything. Though I had kind of yelled a bit louder than I'd intended to. Then you have sealed your own fate, he said simply, pulling away. Man, I hated this guy. If you won't tell me where Optimus is, then I shall use you to bring Optimus to me. He'll never fall for that, I retorted defiantly. Oh. And what makes you so sure? He asked, raising an optic ridge. Because he never promised to protect me. That information hurt, honestly. It hurt even more so to know that someone else thought he would've. That doesn't mean anything, Megatron stated with a wave of his large, metal hand. He'll still come, and when he does, I will end him. That silly Autobot should know better than to bond with humans. I frowned. You should know better to think you can destroy Optimus. Watch it, girl, he growled. You don't want to try your luck with me. Otherwise, you might not be around long enough to be used as a trap. I shivered and leaned back in the Red One's palm. I couldn't keep a perfect composure around this gigantic freak. He smirked, apparently enjoying my discomfort. That's better. Knockout, take her to the holding cells. See if you can get any other information out of her. Of course, my lord. He bowed and left through the automatic doors, still holding me firmly in his grip. The hallways were enormous and colorless, unless you thought the silver-gray monotony counted. Scrap, scrap, scrap. I bit my lip, trying to think of a way to escape. I guess Knockout could feel me tense. What's wrong, little girl? Nervous? Scared? Of course not. I lied, and I'll admit, I was too hesitant on that response. He picked up on it flawlessly. A liar, too. If the Decepticons had pets like the Autobots, you'd be a good recruit. I am not a pet. I yelled, hating that remark. He could kill me, yes, but he was infuriating. Pet? Oh. Sure seems like it. You're soft. He tightened his grip, probably just slightly to him, but it took the air out of my lungs and left me coughing. You're small, and you're weak. I groaned, trying to regain myself. I'm not a pet and I'm not scared of you. I would use every bit of air trying to defy him. Really? He asked, my second comment apparently catching him off guard. You should be, because if I wanted to, I could end your life in an instant. I bit my lip, knowing it was true. That's what I thought. He walked through another set of automatic doors to the holding area. The kind of linked chain you'd find used on prisoners from a century or so ago hung from the ceilings. You see those chains? He asked, gesturing to them. It wasn't like they were easy to miss. That's where you'll be hanging from until you're needed by Lord Megatron again. In the meantime, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I think it'd be in your best interest to answer truthfully. Scrap, I was so fragile. I really hated the Decepticons.
Well, that's the ending of that chapter. I do hope you enjoy this video. If you like to see more, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel and leave a comment down below. Until next time.